Paltrocast.
Thank you both for taking the time to speak with me today. Now, The Portrait is the new movie. It's new to us. Now, I'll first throw this to Natalia. When did you film The Portrait? I couldn't figure out when it was made just by looking at it.
2021.
2021. Okay. Now, I rudely
Do you
did not.
remember that time? That was like 3 lifetimes ago.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good
November.
Cabernet that year. But I rudely, Natalia, I didn't say, how are you? I didn't ask how you were doing today. Are you fine?
I'm good. Thank you. How are you?
I'm great. And I'm going to ask you one more question before I throw it to Ryan. And that's, what did you have visually to act against in terms of the portrait? Meaning, was the portrait itself painted throughout the movie, or at the beginning of the movie, or after the movie?
No, the portrait was painted before the movie. Simon, our director, went. I mean, I wanted to find the list, but I don't think I'm gonna find it in time. Maybe I will, but I'll look up real fast. But he went around trying to find an artist. He didn't want to just do a portrait that was visual effects or whatever. And he found. I mean, I've met her a couple of times. So has Ryan Fipsy. I can't pronounce her last name. I think it's Saylern, right?
Learn, yeah.
Yeah. Saylern. She's a brilliant painter. And we got to meet her a couple of times. So he put her to the task, and she read the script and she loved it. And she painted not just the portrait, but a lot of the paintings that you see in the house that are terrifying Sophia. She did all of those, and it's magnificent work. I mean, that portrait, Ryan has it in his house. I'm going to borrow it this next year. Just kidding. But it's amazing. I would go up to the attic and stare at that portrait because it had just it just looked through you. That's when there's a painter behind. There's someone that knows more than just putting paint to canvas. It was very powerful what Fipsy did.
Wow. Well, Ryan, that was actually the thing I was going to ask. Did you get to keep the portrait? Because some actors, that they're an actor looking at their house, and others have no memorabilia, nothing from any production they worked on. So you do have the painting. That's correct?
I do, and I also pledge allegiance to that first line of actors. I have very little of memorabilia outside of the memories that one collects, but even those are getting garbled as I get older.
As you get more classic, more vintage, not older.
There you go.
Refined.
But that painting, as Natalia said, it had a Mona Lisa kind of esque quality to it, in the same way that the Mona Lisa was sort of said to follow you with her eyes. This one, like Natalia said, drew you into its world, and it really was rather eerie to look at. So to see it come to fruition in the movie in just as powerful a way was kind of incredible. Yeah, and Fipsy did such a great job. Clearly understood the darkness and the ominousness of the movie, and it was obviously a huge part. It was its own character, so it was important that it sung.
Now, last question about the portrait painting itself. Does it go by the door, so it's the first thing that somebody sees in your home? Does it get hidden in a guest bedroom? Does it go in the attic? Where does it go?
Well, I'm currently in the process of moving, so right now it's figuring out a place to how and when to kind of move it type thing. But yeah, it's been moved from room to room.
Now I know. Now, Natalia, something that you and Ryan both have in common is you both had a lot of success outside the U.S. before you moved to the U.S. in film and television projects. So in other words, you were huge here, then you come there, and then you also find success, which is an admirable thing. What was your entry point to the portrait? Did you know one of the producers, or were you friends with somebody from the cast?
Well, firstly, I'm so grateful you said that, because I came to the United States with like 3 guest stars on my belt from Mexico, barely. So
That's 3 more than me.
Oh, you're so sweet. Yeah. No, I got to the US to start my career pretty raw and without nothing to prove. But yeah, it's part of, I got married and I loved living in this country. So it was what it was. But what was the question again? Sorry.
Who or what was your gateway
Oh,
into this
yes.
film?
No, I didn't know anyone. The one of the producers knew my agent, and I think also knew Ryan's agent. So they were looking for actors, so they were going to these agencies. They went to my agency and asked, "Do you have a Latina actress that could play this part?" And so I got the script and the offer from my agency saying they. David explains it. It's so sweet. David Griffith, the writer, says that he saw my prior work and thought, yeah, she could be Sophia, but that it was an interview that he saw of mine where I got really serious about dealing with sort of darkness and depression in our lives and facing our fears. And that's what made him and Simon say, okay, offer it to her and let's see if she wants to do it.
And here you are. Now, Ryan, what was your gateway into this project?
It was pitched to me as a project that I probably wouldn't be interested in because my character didn't utter a word. And I said, "Are you effing kidding me? Like that's exactly why I want to do it." It's actually far closer to who I am as a person anyway. I'm a pretty quiet guy. So it was. I really do appreciate those movies where the audience is left to do a lot more of the thinking and kind of go along this journey with Sophia. And
Mhm.
it was the most intriguing thing to me because you're colliding two kind of traumas, the brain trauma with this generational trauma, and then you're pitting them both on his my character's wife and asking her to sort of come up with all the solutions, and it's just too much for any one person. As you kind of see as the movie progresses, it just the generational trauma takes on a life of its own and starts to kind of affect the traumatic brain injury in such a way where you're starting to wonder who's who.
Well,
It was a unique spin on that psychological horror thriller that was so kind of prominent and incredible from the sort of the 70s. And Simon, kind of our illustrious director, he kind of pays homage to a lot of those movies, both in his sort of shot making and in sort of choices of who he chose to collaborate with, even like Alexander Wells, who did the original score for this. It was such a sort of a classic kind of a score, which Natalia's kind of iterated this before too, that, in an independent movie, you don't get the chance usually. It's something that is, a score is something that is usually bought, but the fact that they kind of went out of their way to make sure that there was enough left in the budget. And, again, everyone's working on this because not for the money, because
right.
we want to kind of follow our fearless leader to the ends of the earth. And we really did on this particular one. It was to the ends of the earth.
Well, one stupid question for both of you, and then I'll let you go. And it's about one of your co-stars, Mark Paul Gosselaar. Mark Paul, I grew up watching him. Saved by the Bell was this show that was on 7 days a week, 5 channels all the time. And it's been incredible to see the dramatic depth that he's shown in film and television projects the last 15 or so years, that he really shed any level of child actor role stuff that he had. So I'm curious, selfishly, Natalia first, what awareness did you have of Saved by the Bell growing up in Mexico?
I knew Saved by the Bell. I've never been driven in. Pop has never been a thing for me. What everyone's watching at the time is usually what I'm not. I remember the first time Britney Spears came out and going to Reese's and being like, "Why do all these girls know this dance and I don't know it? In this song, what's going on?" Because I was listening to Edith Piaf crying in my living room, pretending to be some dramatic diva or something.
Right.
So I knew Saved by the Bell from my younger sister. She loved him. She loved Mark Paul. So I would catch glimpses here and there, but I didn't really, to be honest with you, watched it. But what you said is very important, and I want to put emphasis on that. Mark is such a wonderful person and clearly such a talented actor. I mean, Saved by the Bell, you can, say, oh, it's just a kid show. He was incredible in that. In the few things I watched, and I watched it more after he got cast in our film. And then, watching him come in and play the most bizarre of roles I've ever read on a page, because his character was so weird. That scene with me where he presents the Jesus tattoo and says, let him in and all that. That was, I called David when I read the script for like the 10th time and told him, I still cannot see how you're going to make this scene work. It's just so bizarre to me. And it was the hardest scene for me to grasp Sophia in, because it was so out there and creepy. And he did such a spectacular job. It's so underscored the uncomfortability between them both. And he was just so wonderful as a person and as an actor. And I'm so, as you said, I get so excited when I see an actor that has been, it can happen to all of us, get sort of stuck in this media box, in this idea we should be, because it's what sells. It's so detrimental to the artist and to the art itself. And I'm so proud for him and so happy that he's getting these roles that really showcase his depth as an actor. So very grateful, very happy that he was part of it, and really proud to have acted with this international crush, because I can't tell you the amount of girlfriends of mine that when they saw the trailer were like, do you get to kiss Mark Paul? And I was like, not really. I tried to, but I don't get to all the way. And they were like, oh my God, that was my girl dream. And so it was also a lot of fun to see how that character of his still, lives in women that are 40-year-olds that, had this huge crush in their teenage years. I think that's wonderful.
Right. And quick question before I let you go, Ryan, same thing at you. Had you been aware of Saved by the Bell from your younger years?
Not so much. TV wasn't huge in Australia, but we had sort of, in terms of, in my family, it wasn't huge. But you understand the weight that any actor that's done anything, but certainly something like a Saved by the Bell that has sort of been a real echo of the time, that you could be working with someone that has ego attached to it, but from it really comes from Natalia. She's number one on the call sheet. She's in every fucking frame of the movie. If she's turning up, knowing her lines, knowing everyone's name on set, it really sort of checks everyone at the door. But MPG was great, man. His portrayal of Brooks, there's delivery of lines like you wouldn't let a dog suffer like that. That it shows a real handle on the human capacity, and you're not sure. His level of how he played the mystery of Brooks was kind of genius too. It could have, in a lesser actor's hands, could have really just been a real blank kind of a character, but he really gave it a mystery.
Sure.
And as Einstein said, mystery is the greatest thing that we can experience. So good on you, MPG.
Top that intellectually. That was too good, Ryan. But bottom line is this: congrats to both of you on this project. Ryan, looking forward to the upcoming stuff that you produce in addition to the acting. Natalia, looking forward to Brian Buckley's music as well. Keep up the great work, both of you, and thank you for your time.
Appreciate you, Darren.
Paltrocast.